Hi everyone, welcome back to Extra Credit, and this is our very first episode on ancient Greece. So it's safe to say that out of all the cultures we're going to study this year, none of them have done as much to shape our modern world today as the ancient Greeks. The Greeks completely transformed the way we think about everything from politics, history, and science, to art, theater, sports, philosophy, even the very meaning of life itself. Mr. K, didn't you just say all this same stuff about the Romans? Okay, yes, John Green-inspired version of 13-year-old me. I did say some of this same stuff about the Romans, but the Romans actually learned it all from the Greeks, so really it's the Greeks who should get the credit. Oh, Mr. K, you know what would be a better idea? To learn about Egypt instead. They've got pyramids and a sphinx and... Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right there, 13-year-old me, because your list of good ideas also includes eating an entire bag of cheese curds in one sitting and that little incident at the grade 7 dance. Yeah, those bruises are not going away. But seriously, out of all the cultures in the grade 8 curriculum, the Greeks really are the ones who did the most to shape the world as we know it today. So many things that we just take for granted about life, the universe, and everything actually come to us from this rocky little patch of islands and mountains in southern Europe and the civilization that kicked off there about 3,000 years ago. But even though we call it a civilization, the truth is that ancient Greece never was one unified thing. What we call ancient Greece was actually a crowd of over 1,000 independent city-states who were just as quick to fight each other as to work together. So pretty much your average teenage backstabbing, except with real knives. So because of all that, instead of trying to do the whole history of ancient Greece from start to finish, like in our Rome series, and if you haven't seen the Rome series yet, this is my look of disappointment. Instead of that approach, this time we're going to focus on just one mind-blowing chapter from the entire story of ancient Greek history, the Persian Wars. Roll the montage. Yeah, slow motion running was all the rage back then. So basically what happened in the Persian Wars was that around 500 years before Christ, this little land of Greece with all of its bickering city-state frenemies was invaded by the most monumental military superpower of its day and age, the Persian Empire. What happened next is pretty much the most incredible David versus Goliath showdown of all time. I mean, it was almost as good as like, I don't know, David and Goliath. The decade of the Persian Wars from 490 to 480 BC is absolutely jam-packed with awesomeness of epic proportions, with the characters involved and the things they did quite literally the stuff of legend. Or at least of Hollywood. You could even say the Persian Wars were like a real-life Marvel film, except, you know, without all the snappy dialogue and superhero stuff. Except the Spartans basically invented snappy dialogue and there was tons of superhero stuff. Like 10,000 guys running the world's first marathon race in full body armor. Or the Persian king Xerxes building a literal bridge from Europe to Asia. Or this other guy who went all Captain America and ran 150 miles in 2 days just to get reinforcements for his friends. So pretty much the Persian Wars were a Marvel film. But even aside from all of that, this story still matters a ton because it was the Greeks' victory in the Persian Wars that allowed them to go on to take their place as the founders of Western civilization as we know it. After all, if the Greeks had lost, it's entirely possible that our world today would look completely different. Like no Olympics, no democracy, no Percy Jackson, no Georges. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, let's talk about why we call them the Persian Wars in the first place, aside from the obvious fact that they, involved Persia. After all, every war has two sides, and the Persians probably called them the Greek Wars, just like the Americans call it the Vietnam War, and the Vietnamese talk about the American War, and Switzerland talks about no war. But one of the reasons why we tend to see the Persian Wars from the Greek perspective is because our main source of information about the wars was actually a Greek himself, a delightful little fellow whom we're going to be hearing a lot from, named Herodotus. Herodotus was a Greek writer from a little town called Halicarnassus on the coast of Asia Minor, i.e. modern-day Turkey for all of you who didn't get your owl in geography. And what makes Herodotus such a big deal, aside from his hipster beard, is the fact that he's known as the father of history, because he named one of his kids History. No, it's actually because Herodotus was the first guy to write what modern historians consider to be a real history book, meaning a book based on research that tries to explain something that happened in the past. But Herodotus's big book wasn't just about the past. It covers everything he was interested in, like politics, geography, religion, geography, culture, geography. Yeah, he was kind of a geography nerd. He gets like weirdly excited about rivers. But it's actually a really cool book because the main storyline that binds it all together is this epic showdown between the Greeks and the Persians, which gave Herodotus, and me, the inspiration to take on this whole project in the first place. Or to put it in his own words from the opening sentence of his masterpiece, Herodotus from Halicarnassus here displays his histories, that the glory of those exploits which served to display Greeks and barbarians alike to such effect be kept alive, and most importantly, to give the reason they went to war. So there you have it. Whether you knew it or not, the world as we know it today is actually in some ways the product of this titanic military showdown that happened 2,500 years ago, and you owe it to yourself and future generations to keep the story alive. Not just for the sake of Darius, Croesus, Aristagoras, Leonidas, all the other us guys, but so you yourself can appreciate how the courage, folly, wisdom, ambition, and sacrifice of our historical ancestors on both the Greek and Persian side have shaped your own story today. And also, it's just gonna be sick. Like the cool kind of sick. So tune in next time as we continue setting the stage by talking about the archaic period of Greek history in which all Mr. K, you know what would be a better idea? To learn about Egypt instead. Oh, okay, man, really? Isn't there like a Gandalf action figure you can go play with? Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching Extra Credit. It's always a blast to write and produce this show, and we are gearing up here for an awesome time looking at the Persian Wars over the next 17 episodes. For all CMS students and staff watching this, your pop quiz for this week is what was the name of the world's first historian? Come on down to room 215, find the ballot, write your answer down, and drop it into the box for your chance to win an edible prize. As always, work hard, read books, play outside, and we'll see you next time.